Good afternoon. Welcome to the Auburn Avenue Research Library's Find It Fridays, where we spend an hour on the third Fridays of the month exploring various resources available at the Auburn Avenue Research Library as well as in Fulton County Library System. Today, our topic will be covering um, a discussion about our vertical file collection that is available at the Auburn Avenue Research Library. And it is going to be taught by my colleague, Miss Marcella James. But before she gets started, I wanted to remind you that our next Find It Friday will take place on Friday, October the 17th, and the topic for that presentation will be census records. And so if you want to join us for as we go through a deeper dive into the census records, you're more than welcome to. You just need to go to our events page and register for that. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Miss Marcella James.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's presentation on the Auburn Avenue Research Library's vertical file collection. I'm excited to share with you this comprehensive resource guide that represents over 90 years of African American history and culture preservation. Let me start by letting you know who we are. Hold on one second. It seems to be going faster than I would like to go. So the Auburn Avenue Research Library holds a truly distinctive position in the American library landscape. We are a special library within the Fulton County Library System, formerly known as the Atlanta Fulton Public Library System. What makes us particularly significant is our distinction as the first public library in the Southeast and only the second of its kind in the entire United States to offer specialized reference and archival collections dedicated exclusively to the study and research of African American culture and history and other peoples of African descent. Think about what that means. We are pioneers in the field, breaking new ground in how public libraries can serve special cultural and historical research needs. Now, let me show you what each division offers. Our physical space, AARL, serves as a hub of extensive reference and archival materials, all conveniently located under one roof. Our facility is strategically organized across 3 floors, each serving a distinct purpose. Programming is on the first floor, where community meets scholarship. Reference and research is on the second floor, where the serious research happens, including our vertical files. Archives is on the 3rd floor, where we preserve unique, irreplaceable materials. Now, let me show you what each of these divisions offer. The Programming Division. Our Programming Division is dedicated to fostering community involvement and collaboration. We work closely with local advocates, leaders, and organizations to present African-centered programs that celebrate the authentic Black experience. This isn't just about hosting events. It's about creating meaningful connections between people and African American history and culture. Our programming ranges from author talks and book discussions to cultural celebrations and historical commemorations. What's particularly valuable is how our programming often connects directly to our research collections. An author discussing their latest book might be drawing from materials found right here in our vertical files or our archives. While the first floor brings the community in, the second floor is where the serious research happens. Excuse me. The foundational collection, now known as the Williams Collection, serves as, I am so sorry, my screen seems to be going faster than I am meant to go. Pardon me. There we go. The foundational collection, now known as the Williams Collection, serves as the bedrock of our reference and research division. The foundational collection, now known as the Williams Collection, serves as the bedrock of our reference and research division. This is named after librarian Bobby Williams, whose vision and dedication helped build this incredible resource. This non-circulating library showcases a remarkable selection of resources, which include books, vertical files, journals, magazines, microfilm, microfiche, VHS and cassette tapes, CDs, DVDs, and newspapers. And these all highlight the vibrant stories of the African and African American diaspora. We also provide access to a broad array of web accessible research databases, specifically focused on African American culture and history and the African diaspora. Our reference staff serves the public both on-site and remotely through email, mail, and telephone inquiries. What makes this division special isn't just the size of the collection, but our focused expertise. And let's move on. I want to show you, this is an example, just a few books from our book collection. Just showing, that it covers the full spectrum of the African American experience, from academic texts to popular literature, from historical studies to contemporary analysis. You can see examples here of the kinds of materials we collect: African American adolescent female heroes, How to Be a Young Anti-Racist, and The Door of No Return. These represent the diversity of perspectives and time periods we cover. These books work hand in hand with our vertical files. Often you'll find a book on a topic and then discover we have vertical file materials that provide additional community perspectives or local angles on the same subject. We also have an extensive periodical collection. And this collection includes journals, magazines, and newspapers, each serving different research purposes. We have journals like the Wadabagai, a journal of the Caribbean and its diasporas, which provides scholarly perspectives and peer-reviewed research. We have newspapers like the Afro, the Louisiana Weekly, and local publications that document day-to-day life and contemporary reactions to events. We have magazines like Ebony that capture cultural trends and popular perspectives over decades. These periodicals are particularly valuable because they show how events and ideas were perceived and discussed in real time by African American communities. Now, we also preserve materials through microform technology, and our microfilm and microfiche collections allows us to preserve and provide access to materials that might otherwise deteriorate or be lost. This includes historical newspapers, documents, and other materials that have been transferred to this stable format. You can see here our systematic organization. Everything is carefully labeled and organized for easy retrieval. This technology becomes particularly important when we talk about our vertical files, because our pre-1979 materials have been preserved this way. Now, let me show you what's on our third floor, the archives division. The archive division holds unique historical records, and they make available these records of enduring value related primarily to African American culture and history, with a concentration on local Atlanta history. These primary sources include textual and special media records, cartographic records, graphic arts, still photographs, sound recordings, and moving images, but also art and artifacts, microforms, rare books, and textiles. Archive staff assist patrons on site in our archives reading room and make collections accessible remotely through finding aids and digitized collections. Because these materials are unique and irreplaceable, access to the archives is by appointment only. Now, our vertical files often serve as a bridge to archival materials. You might start with vertical file research and discover we have related archival collections that produce even deeper insight. This is an example of a collection from our archives, the Negro History Collection. And this image that you're seeing documents, it's from our earliest collecting efforts here at Auburn Avenue Research Library. And I think it's from 1949, and that was when it was the Auburn Branch Library. You can see the handwritten note, referencing books in the locked case, and the picture of Lena Horne. This shows you how our institution has been systematically collecting and preserving African American materials for decades. Decades. This historical foundation is part of what makes our current vertical file collection so comprehensive. We've been doing this work for over 70 years. What started as a small collection in a locked case has evolved into the comprehensive research facility we have today. Now that you have an understanding of our full institutional context, let me focus on today's main topic. You can explore more on our AARL page on our website. If you want to know what, additional services our departments offer. But today I want to dive into the vertical file collection, discussing how to access them on site, as well as the resources that they provide. So while all three divisions work together to support research, vertical files often serve as the perfect starting point. They're more accessible than archival materials, more focused than general book collections, and they contain materials you simply won't find anywhere else. So we'll start with an introduction to Auburn Avenue Research Library, which we just completed. Then we'll explore the vertical file collection structure and scope, understanding how it's organized and what it contains. Then we'll examine, this is just a rundown of how I've broken down everything. We'll examine the historical significance and timeline, how this collection developed over 90 plus years. We'll dive into research resources and subject areas, what topics you can research. I'll provide step-by-step usage guidelines, exactly how to access these materials. And then we'll discuss practical research strategies to make your work most effective. And at the end, we'll have a Q&A if anyone has specific questions. So I want to start with our geographic and cultural coverage. The clip-in file focuses on issues and concerns of African Americans. That's our primary focus. But we also collect materials on Africans and African cultures, people of color of the Caribbean, and those of African descent throughout the diaspora. We include related cultural and historical movements that intersect with African American experiences. Why does this matter? The broad scope means that when you research African American topics, you're getting the full context, not just isolated American experiences, but connections to the broader African diaspora. This global perspective is often missing from other collections, pardon me, but it's essential for understanding the full picture of African American history and culture. Now, let me show you how this collection is structured. excuse me, pardon me. We have a two-part structure here at Auburn Avenue. The first part is the retrospective file, and this was formerly known as the Williams Collection Historical Microfilm Project. It covers the early 1900s to 1979. That's nearly 80 years of materials that have been transferred to microfiche for preservation. Isn't that incredible? Oh my God. It has a printed name, thank you, and subject index, and you can access these materials via microfiche reader or printer. Part 2 is our current clipping file. This covers post-1979 to the present. These are physical materials you can handle directly. The index is continuously updated, and the collection is actively maintained, which means we're adding to it regularly. And you can access these through direct folder examination. Once you get to AARL. This structure reflects both preservation needs and practical access. The older materials needed to be preserved in stable format, while current materials, excuse me, pardon me, while I take a sip of water. While current materials are updated continually for maintenance and currency. Pardon me. Now, from the early 1900s to 1979, this was our initial collection period. And it was documenting African American activities, achievements, and community history. Materials were systematically collected and organized during this entire period. Awesome. During our 1979, which was our transition point here at AARL, this was a critical juncture. Pre-1979 materials were moved to microfiche format for preservation, and we began our current physical collection system. This wasn't just a random date. It represented nearly 80 years of accumulated materials that needed preservation and the beginning of our modern approach to vertical file management. 1999 was our documentation period. A comprehensive guide was developed by Mary H. Strickland in our Reference and Research Division, standardizing access procedures. This guide is what allows us to provide consistent professional service to researchers. Now, present day, we continue continuous expansion with current materials and ultimately to have these digitized and to have enhanced digital accessibility and integrated research support and services. This collection grows every month as we add contemporary materials that document ongoing African American experiences. Now, let's look at what subjects you can research using our vertical files. Some of the popular research topics are art and artists, covering visual, performing, and literary arts, biographies, both prominent figures and community leaders, book reviews focusing on African American literature, civic leaders, those with local and national impact, colleges and universities, HBCUs and integration stories, education, policy achievements and challenges, and entertainers, music, theater, film, and sports figures. Our more specialized research areas include foreign countries, African nations and Caribbean connections, government agencies, federal, state, and local, moving pictures, film, neighborhoods, politicians and politics, electoral history, writers and literature, published works and criticism. And I want to take some time now to talk about the scope of coverage. These categories represent thousands of individual files, each containing multiple items. The beauty about our vertical files is that they capture materials that might not warrant a whole book, but are essential for understanding the full picture. Now let me show you our geographic coverage. So there are four levels of coverage. We cover where we do an Atlanta focus, where we feature or we clip local African American community activities, business history, civil rights movement, and cultural development. This is where you'll find the grassroots perspective on major events. Then we also do Georgia statewide, which includes rural and urban African American experiences, historical events, and community development across the state. This shows how national movements played out differently in different communities. We also do clippings from the Southeast region, and these give regional perspectives, interstate connections, and broader cultural movements in the American South. This is crucial for understanding how the South as a region shaped African American experiences. And finally, we have like a global diaspora clippings where we clip anything that is from the international African diaspora, from African nations, from the Caribbean, global cultural exchanges. This global perspective is often what sets our collection apart from others. I think. Um, the advantage of this is that this scope means that when patrons come into AARL, they can trace connections, like how did the national movement affect Atlanta specifically? How did local Atlanta developments connect to broader regional or international trends? And we see this daily as patrons come in and they have that aha moment, like, oh, I didn't know this was connected to this, yeah. Now let's get practical, and I am going to actually show you how to access these materials. So how to access the retrospective collection, that is the pre-1979 collection. So first of all, when you come into AARL, you would request the index. You would ask the reference librarian for the Williams Historical Microfiche Index. And this is in printed format and contains all the subject headings for materials from the early 1900s to 1979. Next, you will search your topics. The index is arranged alphabetically by subject. You can browse systematically or search for specific terms. Now, don't rush like me. Don't rush this step. The index often reveals related topics you hadn't considered. And once you're done with that step, you can you can fill out the materials used form, and you can put the subject information on it. If there's a file number, you can put that on it. And this is where you would be very specific and include all the information that you see, or only all the information that you want to see. You would next provide your ID and submit your completed form to the reference librarian. This is for security and to ensure materials are properly tracked. Once that is done, you would start your research. You would either use the microfiche reader, printer, and don't worry if you're not familiar with this equipment, because staff is available to assist in equipment operation. And once you're done with that, you would return all microfiche to the reference desk to retrieve your identification. And this ensures that nothing gets lost or misfiled. Now, the process for current materials is similar, but with some important differences. So how to access the current collection, which is post-1979. You would come in, request the index, ask the reference librarian for the current vertical file index. This is updated regularly, so it reflects the most recent additions. You would make your selection, choose appropriate subject headings from alphabetical or numerical listings. The current collection often has more detailed subject breakdowns than the retrospective collection. You would complete your form, which, you fill out with your subject headings, your topic, again, be thorough in your selections and provide your ID to the reference staff. Here's where it's different. You only have limited access. You can select a maximum of 5 items at a time from each folder for detailed examination. This protects the materials from excessive handling. And then once you retrieve your 5 items, you need to bring it back before you can select the next 5 items. This ensures material preservation while allowing you to review everything systematically. Now, this 5-item limit might seem restrictive, but it actually helps you focus on the most relevant materials and ensures these irreplaceable items are protected. Now, let me share some strategies to make your research more effective when you're here. So before your visit, I would suggest that you define your research topic and objectives clearly. The more focused you are, the more productive your time will be. Prepare multiple related search terms. Don't just think of one way to describe your topic. Consider chronological parameters. Do you need, one question you can ask yourself is, do you need materials from a specific time period? Bring your valid photo ID. This is required for access. Plan adequate research time. Vertical file research can't be rushed. And you need to review library hours and policies in advance. Now, during your visit, consult with your reference librarians early in your visit. They can suggest search terms and approaches you might not consider. Check both subject and name indexes. Sometimes materials are filed under personal names rather than topics. Take detailed notes on sources. You'll want to be able to find these materials again. Document file numbers for future reference. Now, if you want to maximize your search, you need to remember that each index entry represents substantial material. You're not going to be looking at any empty categories. I would also suggest that you cross-reference with newsletters and portrait collections for additional perspectives. Also consider broader and narrower subject terms as you discover what's available. Explore related geographical areas and check variant names, spellings, and formats. Also, ask about recent additions and updates. Let me share some advanced strategies that experienced researchers use. So some might use a thematic approach where they explore, interconnected topics across multiple subject headings for comprehensive understanding, which means don't just look at one folder. Think about how your topic connects to other subjects. There's the chronological method, where you track developments over time using both retrospective and current collections. This gives you the long view of how issues evolved. You can also do geographic mapping. Compare local Atlanta experiences with regional, national, and international perspectives. This helps you understand what was unique to Atlanta versus part of broader patterns. Network analysis is another good one where you can trace connections between individuals, organizations, and movements through cross-references. Vertical files are excellent for showing these relationships. I would suggest you start broad Then narrow your focus as you discover specific materials that are most relevant. Document unexpected discoveries. They often lead to breakthrough insights. Build relationships with library staff. They are invaluable research partners who get to know your interests over time. You also have to have the right mindset for research. So I want to remind you, remember that vertical file research is often serendipitous. Some of your best discoveries will be materials you weren't specifically looking for. I want to transition now to understanding the index system, because this is crucial for research success. So I would say while you're here, combine both the retrospective and current indexes. Look at the included names, alphabetical and cross-referenced. You know, they look at the organizations, look at the businesses, look at the institutions, specific events. See how they're all interconnected. We have nearly 4,000 total subject headings with regular additions. That's a lot. And every index entry represents at least one folder of relevant material. There are no empty listings. When you see something in the index, we have materials on that topic. Now we have supplementary resources. Like I mentioned before, the newsletters and portrait indexes, they provide additional research pathways and cross-references. These can lead you to materials you wouldn't find through the standard subject approach. Another way to effectively use the system while you're here is, I would say don't just look for obvious terms. Think about how topics might have been described in different time periods. Use the cross references, they're there for a reason. And when in doubt, ask staff to help you navigate the index system. And I just want to give you an example of how these materials are used in the real world. So once you access our vertical file collections, depending on whether, depending on whether you're a researcher, you're a student, you're a professor, you're doing genealogy studies. Yeah, they can all be applied to the real world. In the academic and educational sense, our vertical files can be used for dissertations and thesis research. Graduate students find unique materials here that aren't available in digital databases. On the graduate student projects, it's vital for their research. We get emails from GSU students all the time wanting to come in and, do research on whatever topics that they're undertaking at the time. The vertical files provide accessible primary sources, faculty research and publications. Scholars find community perspectives that enrich their work. And community and personal research. So this would pertain more to like if you're doing family and genealogy projects. Researchers can come in and access biographical files because they often contain information not available elsewhere. Community organization histories. Many organizations' stories are documented only in vertical files. You can also access neighborhood development studies. Local materials show how communities changed over time. And you can also get personal personal biography research from the vertical files. You might find out about local figures that you're related to, because those materials are often here and nowhere else. And of course, it can also be applied to journalism and media research, where These journalists come in and they're looking for stories and perspectives that haven't been widely covered. If someone's working on a documentary film, they might come in looking for visual materials and local documentation. It can also be used in museum exhibits and historic preservation projects that document significant buildings and neighborhoods. So there's a real unique research value in our vertical files collection, and access to material. It provides access to materials not available in digitized databases or mainstream archives or general collections, right? And it, continually provides authentic community perspectives and grassroots documentation that you simply can't get anywhere else. Now we offer additional services and research support here at AARL. You can get expert reference assistance by speaking to our professional librarians who specialize in African American history and provide research consultation and strategy development. We're not just librarians, we're subject matter experts. We also provide technological support where we provide microfiche readers, printers, and copying services. And if you ever need help, we are here for you. Don't let technology concerns keep you from using these materials. And we have integrated collections. You can get access to related newsletter files, portrait collections, and broader Fulton County Library System resources. And we help you understand how vertical files connect to other materials. And when all else fails, we can always connect you to other institutions, scholars, and community organizations for expanded research opportunities. We are a part of a broader research community. So if you're ready to plan your visit to AARL to access our vertical files collection, I would suggest that you contact the library in advance for complex research projects. Staff can help identify relevant materials, suggest research strategies, and ensure optimal use of your visit time. This advanced planning can save you hours and help you focus on the most productive materials. So thank you for your attention to this comprehensive overview. These materials represent over 90 years of systematic collecting and preservation, and they're here for you to use, explore, and learn from. Whether you're pursuing academic research, family history, community projects, or personal interests, these materials can provide insights and perspectives you won't find anywhere else. And for those of you who need our contact information, here it is. Once again, thank you for showing up today. Call us to discuss your research needs and schedule a consultation. Thank you.